While The Rings of Power doesn't officially release until later today, the critic reviews are pouring in. Entertainment Weekly discussing films, The Guardian, over 100 early reviews have already been put online, but things aren't going as smoothly as Amazon is hoping for this billion-dollar series because critics are extremely divided already. I have a bunch of things to show off, but before we get into the topic at hand, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon for just $1 a month, or support the channel via YouTube memberships. All of the links are in the description, and of course, I do really appreciate all of the support. So I have a bunch of different reviews to show off, but let's start with this article. From bold and epic to staggeringly bad, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power divides critics. Now, this was a show that we thought critics would absolutely love. There would be no bad reviews, but unfortunately for Amazon, there are actually quite a few bad reviews already going up. Like I said, it doesn't officially release until later today, and I will be watching it. I will be judging it myself, but right now I'm not feeling very hopeful. I'm feeling extremely worried. Of course, they are only releasing 2 episodes later today, but there's only 8 in the season. It says the first reviews for Amazon's ambitious and long-awaited Rings of Power series have arrived, with the early response largely positive, apart from the critics calling it unfinished, repetitive, and bloated. Set thousands of years before the Lord of the Rings films, Amazon has reportedly allocated at least $1 billion for multiple seasons of the show, which will explore new stories and lore from Tolkien's Middle-earth. It says the first season was filmed in New Zealand, but production will shift to the UK from season 2. Now, before we scroll down, I want to give you all a spoiler alert. I'm not going to be reading all of the fine details that are in these articles, but we are going to be talking about some minor spoilers here. Now, this article does list off several different websites that have already reviewed it, but let's look at the Guardian's review. They call it extraordinary, cinematic, and grand, and in another, noting that the pace is all or nothing and that the series will prove to be wildly divisive. That is definitely not something that you want to hear as a consumer, that this is going to divide people. As a lover of Tolkien, that's not good news. I would want to hear that the material is being accurately represented. Next, they reference Variety, saying for now it's safe to say that Amazon throwing the weight of its coffers at this property has resulted in a perfectly winning adaptation that unfolds swashbuckling adventures with clear reverence and affection for the considerable mythos behind it. But then we get into the negative reviews. They go on to reference Entertainment Weekly, and I wanted to bring up the full article here. Entertainment Weekly said, The Rings of Power review, Amazon's prequel is kind of a catastrophe. And this is definitely not what we wanted to hear. I have been criticizing the content we've seen so far with the trailers, the teasers. I've been talking about the interviews with cast members, but I would have loved to be proven wrong. I would have loved for the show to come out and for it to be amazing, and of course we haven't seen it yet, so I can't judge it yet, but I'm definitely worried at this point. It doesn't seem like it's going to be amazing. It says, there are ways to do a prequel, and The Rings of Power does them all wrong. It takes 6 or 7 things everyone remembers from the famous movie trilogy, adds to a water tank, makes nobody fun, teases mysteries that aren't mysteries, and sends the best character on a pointless detour. The latter is Uber Elf Galadriel, who spends the premiere telling people to worry about Sauron. In response, people tell her not to worry about Sauron. That's 1 hour down, 7 to go this season. Sound like $1 billion yet? Of course, Tolkien imagined Galadriel as an immortal who leaves a sun-swept garden paradise because she yearns to see the wide, unguarded lands of Middle-earth and to rule there a realm at her own will. It does talk about the changes that they've made to Galadriel, the things that they dislike about the changes to her, and she also narrates a history lesson prologue. There is a battle montage, Mordor weirdness, then a hard cut to halfling antics. This is the precise structure that began 2001's The Fellowship of the Ring feature. Now, I do think they had to make callbacks to those movies cinematically, because of course people are going to want that, okay? You do want to have a very fair balance of new content, new music, new cinematography, but you also do want a few callbacks to that original trilogy that blew up this franchise. I mean, of course, Tolkien's work was already massively popular before this, but the movies were absolutely groundbreaking and earth-shattering for the entertainment industry. But this reviewer is saying to do it in the first few minutes just isn't okay, and it didn't come across that well, which I haven't seen it myself, but I'll probably end up agreeing with them. Viewers hungry for Middle-earth anything could be satisfied, but I guess you could argue Rings of Power is no worse than all the other expensively empty genre adventures that have proliferated through the streaming era, but this series is a special catastrophe of ruined potential, sacrificing a glorious universe's limitless possibilities at the altar of tired and true blockbuster desperation. Grade C-, which of course is awful. Then you've got Daily Mail. Christopher Stevens reviews Rings of Power. No turkey, however bloated and stupid, could ever be big enough to convey the mesmerizing awfulness of Amazon's billion-dollar Tolkien epic. They even go on to say that it is a disaster, and the Rings of Power is so staggeringly bad it's hilarious. Everything about it is ill-judged to a spectacular extreme. The cliche Latin script, the dire acting, the lead-in pace, the sheer inconsistency and confusion as it lurches between styles. Where do we start? Hearing that it's mesmerizing awfulness just makes me feel like we were right the whole time to be very worried about this show. And now let's go over to the Rotten Tomatoes score. As you can see, it is sitting at an 84%, and yes, there are a lot of critics saying it's the best show ever created, and if they think that, then great. But not every critic is giving it 10 out of 10s, and the score has been dropping. We've known this series was going to divide people because on one hand, you've got individuals who want a show that follows the source material as closely as it can, then others who are okay with changes being made because they don't care about respecting Tolkien's legacy. But I'll be honest, I think most of us were expecting that divide to be on the user side of things, not critics. Of course, the first 2 episodes don't come out until later today, and I will be giving it a chance, then putting my thoughts up in a video tomorrow, but we have seen months of massive backlash rage around this show, and it definitely seems like with critics even being divided, users are going to be even more divided. You are either going to love this show or you are going to hate it. But for now, that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.